Hello, everybody. It's my joy to gather with you tonight for this time of testimony and worship of our Messiah. I want to give special greetings to Dr. Greg Stone, who is perhaps the best student I've had in 40 years of higher education. He is a student, he's a scholar, but most of all, he's a shepherd, and all those things come together. So, Dr. Greg, good to be with you tonight, and I look forward to our time in the future. So, hello, everybody. How are you tonight? I want to share with you God's gift of a Greyhound bus in my life. Has anybody ever ridden a Greyhound bus? Before I start, I want to say that my journey testimony has a past, a present, and a future. And the future is the most important of all, for all of us, as we shall see. We ask two questions often when we travel on a life journey. Who am I? Where am I headed? Healthy people often ask these questions in the stages of their journey. I have, and I still do. First of all, I want to testify of my past journey to Messiah Yeshua. My Jewish grandmother and father, at the age of 17, my father came to America from a displaced persons camp in Germany in 1951. They were the only Jewish survivors of my family. They came through Ellis Island, and I believe that they asked these questions too. Who are we and where are we heading? Many years later, he met my mother, and as my mother and my father fell in love, my life began. We lived a non-observant Jewish life, and it became a challenging life. My brother Stuart died at the age of 11 when I was 13 years old. And there were so many things that took place in life that I really confessed to not believing in God at all. There was just too much suffering in the world. Holocaust, my brother, those kinds of things, I did not believe. I went to the University of Maine in mathematics and then left there simply unfulfilled. I went to Rhode Island to live with my cousins and to begin to work. And then I received a call back to Maine to take care of some family matters. And this is where the Greyhound bus came in. I was going through Boston at midnight one night, and I looked up through the window and saw a beautiful full moon. And that was my first prayer at the age of 19. God, if you exist, I don't know if you exist. If you do, I sure could use your help. 3 weeks later, I called back to my cousins. I told them I was coming back to Rhode Island, and they told me that they had come to faith in Jesus. And they said the only requirement was for me to come to worship with them. I asked if they'd really let me in. I had long hair, a fringed jacket back in 1975. That was the way I looked. And I said, would they even really let me in? Well, I went, and for 6 weeks, the only message I heard was that God loved the world so much that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. Love. God as a God of love was something I had never heard before. I eventually went back to Maine after I accepted Yeshua as my own Messiah, and back to a local congregation near my home and the mentors there. And from the very beginning in 1975, I loved Bible study. So the congregational leader asked me one day, would you like to go to college to study the Bible? I didn't even know there was such a thing, a college for studying the Bible. I went to Lee University. I studied intertestamental studies there. I met my wonderful wife, Glenda. After graduate school, my master's program, I went to teach college in Iowa at the University of Iowa. Also, I went to teach college, and at the University of Iowa, I wanted to study with George Nicholsburg, who was the foremost scholar in Second Temple Judaism at the time. In 1985, I saw an album with three really geeky guys. It was called Israel's Hope. I didn't know what it was. It said something about Messianic Jews. For 10 years, I had lived and did not know that there was such a thing as Messianic Jews. They connected me to a heritage that I wanted to know. In 1986, I came on staff at Mount Paran in Atlanta until 2000, except for some time in Maine. The leader of that congregation had made 36 trips to Israel as a leader of a congregation of 15,000, which was huge in the 1970s. He was a major influence, and he knew that Israel was a part of the future. In the year 2000, I received an invitation to go to Israel. It was funded by a family at Mount Paran, and I went home to the land for the first time. In 2003, my daughter finished high school in Israel. In 2004, my family went on a 6-week trip to Israel. In 2005, my other daughter lived on a kibbutz, and it's been going ever since. And then in 2005, I received a call to commit myself to Israel's restoration and global revival. Dr. Walker himself from Mount Paran encouraged me to go in the way of my heritage. So I wanted first to testify of the past of my trip to Messiah Yeshua. And now second, I want to testify of my present journey in Messiah Yeshua. In 2013, I received a call to become rabbi here at Congregation Beth Judah because of what the Bible says, especially in Jeremiah 30 to 33. Each of us continue to ask these questions, as Israel always has. Who am I? Where am I going? We need to have a strategy to our lives. And for me, that strategy has always been training and teaching and developing at Lee University through my for-profit consulting, the Leadership Link, through teaching at Chattahoochee Technical College. I love technical college students. And then also with Jeremiah's Field Foundation, a nonprofit that seeks to provide resources for Messianic believers in Israel to gain higher education in Messianic studies that's hard for Messianic Jews to do in Israel. I love what I'm presently doing. But I think I want to enter into the most important part. Third, I want to testify of my future journey in Messiah Yeshua. We need to add to our future testimony to our witness. Remember that Peter said, be prepared to give a reason to everyone who asks you for the hope that you have. Future hope. Do we have a future element to our testimony so that people know where we're going? It was the gift of a Greyhound bus. Who am I? Where am I going? From my PhD in organizational leadership, I began to study about building future confidence in leaders. It applies to our homes, our workplaces, our service. It's what we do together to build a future together. Each of us is called on our journey today. Who am I and where am I headed? I feel a calling of the Lord, an urgency in my testimony to encourage you to create the future element of your testimony. Psalm 138 says that God will fulfill his purpose for me. Isaiah 30:15 says, in quietness you'll find your strength. Where are we heading? Romans 8 says, it's good, there is hope. And Revelation 21 says that we are heading home. Let me wrap this up with one more important thing. My great journey has one more influence. On my mother's side of the family, in the year 1866, 150 years ago, a group of people in my mother's life, forefathers, 150 years ago, chartered a ship called the Nellie Chapin, and they took apart all of their houses, they took their farm machinery, they went to Israel, and they settled there with the first American colony, a group of Maine houses. One person in that group, Rolla Floyd, is known as one of the founders of modern tourism in Israel. He had a future perspective. Beloved, our great journey is coming together. In Zechariah 14, we have a testimony of the last days. It's called the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. God is bringing all of our lives together, and he's bringing your life together. The final chant goes like this. Ushamo, Ushamo, Ushamo echad, Bayom hahu, Yekeh Adonai echad, Ushamo, Ushamo, Ushamo echad. And in that day, the Lord shall be one, and his name one, and we shall all be home. We are a family on a journey. We are a family of destiny. We are a family with a past, a present, and more importantly, a future. So let's prepare a future testimony beginning today. It's been my honor to share with you. Thank you very much. Shalom, shalom.